Shabbat Shalom. We welcome everyone to this Sabbath class and all those who are joining in with us. We certainly look forward to the fellowship that we have in Him and with Him, and the fellowship that we have with His people and those that He has chosen and those that He has given birth to. So to each and every one that's coming on into the house, come on in to the digital house, come on in to the physical house. We welcome all of you. Salute all the kings and the queens. Salute the Hebrews and the Shebrews, all the ox and the coatees. And we certainly say Shabbat Shalom to all of the brothers and sisters that are in the body that's covered under the blood of the Mashiach. And those who are coming in just to hear the class on today that is somewhat just seeking for answers, looking for certain questions to be answered. And we certainly will try to follow you in the chat. If you do have some questions, if you would just submit those questions, and we would try to follow along with you, or we'll try to answer those questions. So we say Shabbat Shalom to all those on the west side, those out there out west, California, Arizona, coming on this way, those to the east of us. And we certainly welcome you, and all of those in the state of Iowa and in Illinois as well. We welcome all of you. Some of us who are here, we're going to keep our shoes on, I think, and our socks. But if you're at home, you want to kick off your shoes and be in your socks or your bare feet, then just as long as you just kind of settle on in with us. This is a very interesting day and time that we're in right now, as we see what's going on around the world. I know I have questions, and I seek the Most High in prayer and in study, trying to get some of my questions answered, because I, especially with the time that we're in, and wanting to know, as we get closer to the end of this age, what am I looking forward to? How should I prepare myself? What is expected of me in this day and this hour? And how should I focus my attention and my time? Because if we're not careful, we get caught away in a lot of different directions, and a lot of different things get to pulling on us. And when we could be multifaceted, and we can do many tasks at one time. We can multitask, but really our undivided attention and focus is usually on one thing. So we come into His house on today. This is the only day that He set aside out of all the days that He made. He made 7 days, but there was only one day that He set aside, and that was the Sabbath day. He set it aside and He sanctified it, and He told Adam in the garden. So when you look at the Sabbath day goes all the way back to the garden. And so He talked to Adam and told him that, you come out of the field, you're not working on the Sabbath day, on the Shabbat. And this was something that was given unto His people, the nation of Israel, the nation of Yasharal, as a sign. He said, "This sign shall be upon you." And those who are in Yasharal, the sign is upon us. We should not forsake this. I know that there is somewhat of a conflict between the Church of Rome and the nation of Yasharal, what was given to Yasharal. There is a conflict, and there is a division. So what we have to look at is when our Messiah returns at the end of the age, we come to the end of this Gentile age. When our Messiah returns, is he going to side with the Roman Catholic Church, or is he going to come back after his people, the nation of Yasharal? I mean, should we think that he's going to forget Israel? He's going to forget his people. Do we think he's going to forsake them? Because a lot of people, when you look at what we believe and how we live our lives, we think that he is going to forsake his people. We really think that he is done with his people, and it's not so much our fault in this age that we're in now, because this generation that's living now, everything was handed down to us from the previous generation. And so how did the previous generation get it? Well, it was handed down to them. People who are in the church that say they have a revelation. Revelation of what? What is your revelation, and how could your revelation be different from what the Ruach is teaching, and how the Ruach gives revelation? Because all revelation comes from heaven. In Matthew, we'll go to Matthew. I think I'll start this class off in Matthew chapter 11 and verse number 27. Matthew 11:27. Because people who say they have a revelation, your revelation better be supported by Torah. If your revelation is not supported by Torah, it's not coming from the Ruach. You say Ruach, what's a Ruach? Ruach is a spirit. Ruach is the spirit. Torah, when you say Torah, what's Torah? Torah is the word. Torah is the teaching, the instructions that rain down from heaven. That's Torah. And then, so when you hear me say Torah, I'm speaking of the word, instructions that rain down from heaven. The oracles that rain down from heaven is called Torah. Ruach is the spirit. Now, since this is a Shabbat day, you'll hear me using a lot of the Hebraic pronunciation of words and names. You'll hear me say that a lot on today, because this is his day. This is the day that he has sanctified. So if he has sanctified one day of the week, the only day he sanctified is one. And I want to say this, as he sanctified one day. I want to say this because a lot of people say they believe it. I believe in the Shabbat. I believe in the Sabbath. I believe in it. But you know what it says in the 5th chapter of Proverbs? 5th chapter of Proverbs says you vote with your feet. The 5th chapter of Proverbs says you speak with your feet. So wherever your feet take you, that's your mouth speaking. So I believe in the Shabbat, I believe in the Sabbath. Okay, well, we're having a Sabbath class. We're having Sabbath fellowship. We're coming together on the Sabbath. Oh, I believe in the Sabbath. Well, you speak with your feet. You vote with your feet. People can talk, and people have beautiful testimony. I mean, they have these very elegant testimonies, but you vote with your feet. So if you don't come to the Sabbath class, but you believe in the Sabbath class, you're just talking. You're talking, and sometimes the things that we say, our mouth can cause what does it say in Ecclesiastes? Our mouth can cause our flesh to sin. Your mouth can cause your flesh to sin. So we have to be careful when we come to the big gate and start talking. That's why he says, when you come into my sanctuary, let your words be what? Few. Be more ready to listen than to speak, because your mouth can cause your flesh to sin. So Matthew 11:27, we're going to start off here look at some things, some revelation, and try to get this thing, to where he wants us to believe it and walk in it, because there's a lot of things that's being said out there, and a lot of people live in a certain way, keeping certain standards, and I want to be the first to say that I believe in the faith of the Mashiach, the faith of the Mashiach, not a religion. I'm not into a religion. I'm into the faith of the Mashiach, because religion has gotten a lot of people in error, and people are going to go off into eternity following a religion that's not Torah-based. Okay, so in Matthew 11:27, he says, all things are delivered unto me of my Abba, and no man knoweth the Ben, but the Ab. Neither knoweth any man the Ab, save the Ben, and to whomsoever the Ben will receive. Now I know we got some Bens in the house, and we've got a young fellow by the name of Ben or Benjamin. But Ben in Hebrew, Ben means son. In English we say son. In Hebrew we say Ben. So we got a Benjamin or Benjamin, but Benjamin. But Ben means son. Abba means father. He says, to whomsoever the Son or the Ben will reveal. So if the Son is not giving you revelation, what you understand in Torah is through instruction or teaching. What we get, I've had teachers all my life, and I have 4 teachers that really stand out in my life. 4 teachers that I give credit to, where I say I am the product of my teachers. There's 4 of them that really stand out. My teachers teach me things that they know, but my teachers can't give me a revelation. Just like people who listen and hear the things that I say and teach, you can be taught this, but you have to get the revelation, and that comes from the Son. That comes from the Son or the Ben. He's the one that gives you the revelation. So you can receive instructions and teachment and learn, but there's many things that I have learned that I haven't had the revelation of. And that's going to be the same with a lot of people. You've learned this, but you've learned it, but you haven't had the revelation. Revelation will come in time. In St. John chapter 16 and verse number 13. St. John 16 and 13. Now, our Messiah, the Mashiach, said that it's the Ben that gives the revelation. And we didn't finish reading that in Matthew. Maybe some of you read that when I had it up here on the screen, if you read more than verse 27. Did anybody else read more than verse 27 when I had it up here? Because he said, come unto me, all you labor and heavy laden, I will give you rest. He says, take my yoke upon you. And when you take that yoke upon you, what do? He said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. Learn of me. So there's this teaching element that he has, because the only way I can learn of him, I must be taught. So in John 16:13, he says, howbeit when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, what is that Spirit of truth going to do? It's going to guide you into all truth. The Spirit of truth, when he comes, is going to guide you into all truth. Now, is the Ben, is the Son here on earth giving revelation? Or did he send his Spirit, his Ruach, to give the revelation? Do you know that when the Mashiach was here, his disciples, his followers, that they did not want him to leave. He said, no, you can't leave us. We don't want you to leave. He says, if I don't leave, what's not coming? If I don't leave, that comforter or that ruach is not going to come. So he had to leave so that the ruach would come. So now when the ruach comes, the spirit of truth, he's going to guide me into all truth. And what does it say at the end of this verse? And he will show you things to come. So it's the ruach now that's giving you the revelation. The ruach gives revelation. But the ruach's not going to give you a revelation that's not Torah-based. Now, why would I say that? Why would I say the ruach would not give? There's a little feedback on here, isn't there? Just a little feedback. Maybe our audio people, our audio team can see why. Maybe make a little adjustments on there to where he'll hear me. To where we don't have that feedback. So the ruach now has to give me revelation. And if you got any questions, certainly submit your questions and I'll try to answer them. So the ruach has to give me revelation. And so why would I say, and this is a question, why would I say that the ruach is not going to give you a revelation that's not Torah-based? Why would I say that? Anybody know? Why would I say the ruach or the spirit is not going to give you revelation that's not Torah-based? Why?
I feel because the spirit cannot contradict what the word is.
Okay.
They are in sync. They are one.
Right. Because it says let's go to John 1:1. Let's go to John 1:1. And this is what Sister Kathleen had said. Catherine, I'm sorry. It's Catherine. Oh, please forgive me. This is Catherine. In the beginning was the Word, or Torah. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was Torah. And Torah was with Elohim, and Torah was Elohim. So you can't separate Elohim from Torah or Word. You can't separate him from oracles or instruction. You can't separate him from that. So when he speaks, and that's the oracles, and he's given his Torah or his word, that is who he is. So if anybody has a revelation that's not Torah-based, it doesn't come from him, because you can't separate him from his word. So that's why I say all revelation, because you have some people say, well, I got the spirit of truth and I got the revelation, but it's not Torah-based. It's not based and rooted in Torah. Well, if that's the case, then it didn't come from Elohim. It didn't come from Elohim, because Elohim is not going to give you instructions or oracles that's not Torah-based, because I think that's what you said. He would contradict himself. It would be contradictory to him. I'm going to give you a revelation, but it's not in my Torah. It's not even Torah-based, but I'm going to give you a revelation. It doesn't work like that. He doesn't do that. So that's why. And then another verse real quick is John 4 and 24. And it says, Elohim, a spirit, and they that worship him must worship in spirit and in truth, because Elohim is spirit. So in the beginning was Elohim, or in the beginning was that spirit, and that spirit, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, which is the spirit, and the Word was Elohim, which is the spirit. So that's why you can't separate his word from his spirit or his Torah from his spirit. So if the Son is giving revelation and the Spirit of truth is giving revelation, then the Spirit of truth and the Son must be in agreement with one another. Now, what is another scripture? Where is another scripture that talks about the agreement of that is Torah based, that is a principle of agreement? Anybody know another scripture that we could bring out that's Torah based, that kind of talks about two parties and what has to be? Yes. Exactly. And that's in Amos 3:3. And this is a principle. Can two walk together except they be agreed? So revelation, spirit of truth, Torah, Elohim, the spirit, all of that has to be in agreement with one another. It all has to be, because they're not going to be able to walk together except they be agreed. And you're not going to have the record in heaven. Now they bear record in heaven. The Son bears record in heaven with the Word. So you're not going to have this record in heaven if they don't agree. So you eliminate contradiction. There's no contradiction in Him. So I say all of that to say this: any revelation that man has that's not Torah based is not coming from our Father. Now that's important, because before any of us was born, you've already had religions out there speaking for our Father and speaking for the Son. And many of us have fallen trapped into religion. Many of us have fallen trapped into religion. And that's not why our Mashiach came. It's not why our Mashiach came. He did not come, excuse my English, help me. He did not come to bring a religion in the world. That's not why he came. That's not why he came. So, just building up a base here. Romans 15 and verse number 8. Romans 15 and 8. The problem that a lot of people have is they pick up this book and start to read from Matthew, or sometimes Romans. People don't read this book. They start reading the book, and a lot of times people come to teachers and feeders, shepherds, rahas that he gives unto us. Raha is a shepherd that he gives unto us, and they'll ask him or her, where should I start reading in this book? And what do they usually tell them? Well, start in Matthew. Most times people tell them start at Matthew, or sometimes people say, well, start at the book of Acts because it was written to sinners. Or some people say, well, start in Romans. Take the Roman road. What does Romans 10 and 9 say? A lot of people should know what Romans 10 and 9 say, because that's where a lot of people like to start. They like to start. And if you start in Matthew, you didn't miss the reason why he came. You missed it. You've completely missed it if you start in Matthew. Oh, no, you can't say that. Because most people who call themselves quote unquote Christians cannot tell you why Christ came accurately. They cannot tell you accurately why the Mashiach came. Many of them don't know this. They don't know Romans 15 and 8. Yes.
And when they do try to explain, they got these big old long elaborate words, can't nobody understand them.
Right. And it's
like the other day on the computer, they were saying, why do you think that God's son came? He let his son die for everybody. And I mean, I couldn't tell you, I couldn't understand a word that the philosopher said.
Yeah.
And most of the people can.
Yeah. and a lot of people want to brandish their intellect, their intelligence. They want to show you how much intelligence they have. And he even said, isn't it in 1 Corinthians, the first chapter, I think it is, he said he chose the simple things to confound the wise. So all these people that's got all this knowledge and this wisdom, he's taken very simple words and principles and everything to confound them. So, but why did the Mashiach even come? Because if you don't get it, if you don't go back to the beginning, you'll miss the reason why he came. Totally miss it. And there's some things that are written from the beginning that will make any nation of people want to be the people. I can see it. When I read it from the beginning, I can definitely see why. People want to be, man, I got most favored status. You look at the United States government and you look at other countries and governments around the world, and a lot of these other countries, I would say probably 80-90% of other countries around the world would love to be an ally or have a most favored status with this nation. Not all nations around the world, but 80 to 90% of them. They want to be that most favored nation status. And even people, when you read it from the beginning, no wonder everybody wants to be the people. No wonder. I mean, I look at, I look at, because we read Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9, and some of us have committed those verses to memory, right? They say, well, you know what Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9 says? Anybody know what that says? Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9. He speaks to two churches that he told them they didn't have to repent. Out of the 7 churches, there was 2 churches that didn't have to repent. One was Philadelphia, which is Revelations 3 and 9. The other one is Revelations 2 and 9, and that's the church of Smyrna. Isn't that it? The church of Smyrna, Revelations 2 and 9, and then the church of Philadelphia, Revelations 3 and 9. But Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9 almost sound the same. And those are verses that we should know. We really should know those verses and commit those verses to memory. Because it's easy to be deceived. I seen a Mark Twain statement that he said, it's easier to fool a people than to convince a people that they're fooled. Did you guys hear that? Mark Twain says it's easier to fool a people than to convince a people they've been fooled. I mean, that's one of those. Now, that's not biblical, that's not Torah, but it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense because you can really fool people. But then to convince them, hey, y'all been fooled. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, ain't nobody fool me. It's like somebody that says they don't believe in hypnosis. You can't fool me. You can't trick me. Can't nobody hypnotize me. And then next thing you hear them, they're barking like dogs, meowing like cats. Wait a minute, I didn't think you could be hypnotized. I don't even believe in hypnosis until they're hypnotized. And then you tell them, you were hypnotized. You was barking like a dog. Oh, no, I wasn't. Oh, no, I wasn't. You have some people that are like that. But it's easier to fool a people than to convince them that they've been fooled. So Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9 tells us that there is a nation or there is a people who are a misnomer. And you know what I mean by misnomer? What's a misnomer? Anybody know what a misnomer is? Anybody in the chat room knows what a misnomer is? A misnomer. You can look it up real quick.
Can we take a guess at it?
Yes.
Well, the first one missed me. They missed something. I'm just trying to just think it out. Misnomer, they've been misnamed. Something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're misnamed. It's a misnomer. And that's what Revelations 2 and 9, Revelations 3 and 9 is. There is a people, there is a nation, there is a people that is misnamed.
And do they know it, Elton?
Some of them do.
Some of them do.
Yeah.
Some of them are kind of
Most of them do know, especially when you go up. I mean, you have the general public, but most of them go to some type of training and teaching to learn about who they are. And see, they do it from a generational teaching, which is Torah-based, which we should be doing. Because it was given unto us to teach our sons and to teach our sons to teach their sons. That was given to us, which is generational teaching. So there's things that should be taught in the home before you even leave the house. Before our sons and daughters leave the house, there's just certain things that they should know before they even leave the house, because it's put in them as a child. Now, they're very good at it. We're not, but they're very good at it. But those people who are doing all that teaching, and the more knowledge they learn and the more knowledge they get as they go to the schools and universities and class stuff, they realize that they are a misnomer. But they don't want the world to know. There's too many benefits. There's too many benefits. The whole world looks at you like the chosen people. You think you want to stop that? No, you ain't stopping that. No, this government, United States government, gives that nation, I think I seen the other day because somebody had quoted, $5 to $6 billion annually. And they've been doing it annually. $5 to $6 billion stipend they just give to a political Israel, a misnomer nation. It's not even the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they know they're not. But they get $5 to $6 billion just from this country annually. You know, they get most favorite nation status. They get all kind of benefit. You think they want to give that up? Would you? Let me ask you, would you? Would you want to give that up? Ain't nobody gonna want to give that up. No, I got that most favored nation status. Thank you. I'm not giving that up. And so a misnomer, they've been misnamed. And all of us should realize Revelations 2 and 9, Revelation 3 and 9. The problem that we have in ecclesia, you know what I mean when I say ecclesia? Ecclesia are those who are called out. They're called out and they're called ecclesia. And that's where we get the word what? Ecclesiastics. Well, maybe I mispronounced it. No. The word church. If you look up church in Greek and look up church in Latin and Greek, mainly Greek, and you'll see what it says. Okay, well let's look it up. Let's look it up. It's got to be in Romans somewhere. The word church. Anybody know a scripture in Romans where it says church? So we can look that word up in Greek. Nobody? Oh, I got some Bible thumpers here. Huh?
churches in Revelation. You can't use that church.
Well, yeah, we can, but I was going to use it in Romans. I wanted to find something in Romans. So we can go, let's look at Revelations 2 and 1. It has the word church in it. Right. So let's look it up in the Greek. And in the Greek, it's G1577. 1577. So in the G1577, see what it says? Ecclesia. Ecclesia. The ecclesia, and what does it mean? Calling out. So we're talking about the called out ones, the ecclesia. But the The problem that we have today is that, thank you for that scripture. The problem that we have today is that everybody is telling the called out ones, ecclesia, everybody's telling them it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Almost the whole, as soon as you say church or ecclesia and you start to bring out things in Torah, in the Bible, the first thing they say is that doesn't matter. So what you're telling me is what is in Torah doesn't matter. What you're telling me is his word doesn't matter. His word doesn't matter. Now, would you really follow somebody who will tell you that the words from the Most High doesn't matter? Really? I mean, I want you to feed me, but you're telling me that everything in his book doesn't matter. But I want you to feed me. You're my feeder. You're my teacher. And I know that you believe everything in this book doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. But we believe that. And we fall trap. That's what I said about Mark Twain. It's so easy to fool people. I mean, it's easy to fool somebody, but it's hard to tell them, hey, you've been fooled. They ain't gonna believe that. Everything that's written in this book does matter. Everything. Everything written in the book. Why would he give us all of this instructions and everything? Why would he give us the book of Revelation if it didn't matter? What's in the book of Revelation doesn't matter. Oh, so there's a people who say they're Israel and they're not. They're actually the synagogue of Satan, but that doesn't matter. Oh, no, that doesn't matter. Can you hear the logic in that? But yet we follow people who say that all the time. Look past that. Don't even think about that. Just focus on what I want to tell you. Well, everything I want to tell you is going to be biblically based, and everything that we should know, everything in the book is something we should know and we should gain from. So Romans 15:8, it says, now I say that Jesus Christ, was a minister of the circumcision for the truth of Elohim. Now, he's getting ready to tell you why. Why was Jesus Christ, Yahusha Mashiach, same person, why was he a minister for the truth of Elohim? Anybody? Why was Yahusha Mashiach, Jesus Christ, why was he the minister of the circumcision, or Yasharah, for the truth of Elohim? Now, this is all truth. Now, why? Anybody? That's why he was a minister. He was the minister for the truth of Elohim unto Yasharah, the circumcision, and the reason why was to confirm the promises made unto the fathers, or made unto the Abbas, or the Abs, or fathers in the natural sense. So if somebody was to ask you why he came, because you can ask a lot of people, why did the Mashiach even come? Why did he come? How many people do you think would take you to this scripture and show you this scripture and tell you, well, the reason why he came was to confirm the promises? How many people you think in the ecclesia, which is the church, how many people, and sometimes I want to do this as a poll, and just go from ecclesia to ecclesia and ask them, why did the Mashiach come? Why did he come? Do you know where I think they'll take me? This is where I think they'll take me. John 3:16. That's where they'll take me. Almost everybody in the ecclesia will take me here. And you see it all over the place. That's what the world believes. Nobody takes you to Romans 15:8. Nobody will take you here. If anybody takes you here, it's somebody who has well studied and well studied Torah. Well studied Torah. Those would take you to Romans 15:8. Because here he begins to break down why he came. Now, let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. Why would he have to confirm the promises? Anybody? Why would he have to confirm the promises? It was in his word to do? It was in his word to do that so that we would believe him. Why would he have to confirm the promises?
Well, Elder, I go back to the Garden of Eden when Adam transgressed.
Thank you.
The Father told him, I will help you. And he made a promise to him, I will send someone to help you, and that would be Christ.
Okay.
So he had to fulfill that, and that sounds like it was his first promise to mankind.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody want to add to that? Why would he have to confirm the promises? That's good. We just want to get, we want you to add to this. Anybody? Just through your study of his book and just the knowledge base that you have, and we're at different levels. Everybody's at different levels, and this is not to put a shine on somebody and to put somebody else's shine out. That's not why. But in your course of life and how you've studied the book, why would he have to confirm the promises? Why would he have to do that? Okay, let me ask you this. Why, if you was involved in any kind of relationship, it could be father to son, mother to daughter, brother to sister, spouse to spouse, or anything like that, why would somebody have to confirm to you the promises? Why? Why would you feel a need, or why would they feel a need? Because obviously, this is coming from the Most High Yah unto his people, but why would he have to confirm that?
Because God cannot lie. And if I was in a relationship, I wouldn't want someone lying to me.
Okay, because it says in the chat here, because he made a covenant and he cannot break his covenant.
And he does not lie.
Yeah, he doesn't lie. He made a covenant, can't break the covenant. He's not going to do that. Now what?
He's not like man. He cannot lie.
What if a people? Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah 17, verse number 4. Let's go to Jeremiah 17 and 4. And then I want to go to Psalms chapter 83. And then we're going to go to Isaiah, I think it's 49. Let's start here. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou, even thyself, shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee. And now we got the question in the backdrop of our minds, right? Discontinue from the heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, and ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Okay, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Psalms chapter 83, and let's look at verse 2, and I'm going to read down to verse 4 or verse 5. Psalms 83. Remember what we read in Jeremiah 17:4. And we're going to read Psalms 82 through 85, and then I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah. And then let's revisit that question. Why did he have to confirm his promises? For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, this is verse number 4, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Yasharal may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Okay. All right. Well, that's one thing, right? That's one thing. What did we see out of Jeremiah 17:4? Did anything ring out in Jeremiah 17:4? Anything ring out to anybody? Jeremiah 17:4, huh? Okay.
They're going to serve the gods of the land they were in.
Elder, I saw that the Most High said he's going to discontinue our heritage.
Okay. So discontinuing the heritage means that they were going to lose everything. They're going to lose everything. Okay? So they discontinue the heritage. I'm going to lose it all. Okay? Back in Psalms 83, what does it say in verse number 4? Psalms 83 and 4.
The enemy's discussing how they're going to cut us off. They're going to do it physically, what the Lord said in Jeremiah.
Right. So they were going to be cut off from being a nation. And the name of Yashra, you ain't going to remember it no more. So now these are prophecies now, and a prophecy is something that's going to happen in the future event. It's a future event that's going to happen. So we're looking at a people who had an inheritance, but then it was discontinued. Discontinue their heritage. We look at a people who was going to be cut. You're not even going to be a nation anymore. In fact, we don't want none of you to remember. So now let's go to Isaiah. Let's go to Isaiah 1 and verse number 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. Yasharal doth not know, my people doth not consider. Okay, so you got a people that The heritage was discontinued. You got a nation that was cut off. They don't even, he says, I don't even want you to remember your name. Then you got here, you said, there's a verse. It might be in Job or Psalms, but it talks about how the animal is kind of like a dumb animal. And so you have to put a bridle in his mouth and steer him around because it's just a dumb beast. It's a dumb animal. But here he makes a comparison. That dumb animal knows more than you. A dumb animal. I can't recall where it's at. I've read it. It's either in Psalms or Job, and it talks about how the bridle has to be in the mouth of the beast to steer it, because he don't know what, do I go left or do I go right? I don't know. You have to put the bit in his mouth and stir it because he don't know. Is that Psalms 32 and 9? Okay, let's look at that. Okay, let's look at Psalms 32 and 9. Yeah. That's the one. That's because he has no understanding. That's the one I was looking for. Okay. Psalms 32 and 9. Be ye not as the horse. This is what I was looking for. Or as the mule, the donkey, or the ass. Don't be like them. Why? They have no understanding. Whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee. So the horse, the mule, the ass doesn't have any understanding. They don't have the intelligence like we have. But then you go to Isaiah. Let's look at Isaiah 1 and 3. Let's go back there. And what does that say? The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. Yasharal don't know. My people don't even consider. So you're not even where Yasharal is, they're not even in the state of a beast that has no understanding. They've been fooled, but you can't tell them they've been fooled. That's what I like about that Mark Twain quote. I seen that this week. Mark Twain, he says, it's easier to fool a people than to convince a people they've been fooled. Why is that? It could be because of pride. I think pride is an element there. Yes.
Okay. The person who put us to sleep, don't they have to wake us up? Or could we? That's how we don't know, because the master put us to sleep, right? Right. Part of the church.
Yeah. But he's going to the hope that we have, again, the hope that we have, it lies within, when you see it in Romans 15:8. So to answer your question, the people to put us to sleep, are they going to be the ones that wake us up? I wouldn't say they're going to be the ones that wake us up, because they want to keep us asleep. You know, if you
think they put us to sleep?
no, I think that's going to be a part of my lesson as we get there, but we'll see why. We'll see why. But what I want to establish is really our intelligence and understanding of the Mashiach we have to gain now. We have to grow in this. Do we need a Mashiach? Do we need the anointed one? Do we need a savior? Yes, we do. And everything that comes with it. You know, you cannot make it without. Anybody who thinks that they can make it without the Mashiach, you don't understand why he came. Because if he had not come, you still would not have an inheritance. because all that was taken away. It was prophesied. You lost your inheritance. And why did they lose their inheritance? Disobedience. And what was the first sin that they committed? Idols. Idolatries. Very first thing. Less than 40 days. They broke covenant less than 40 days. It didn't even take 40 days after entering into a covenant, and the blood that was spilt, that was shed, and that was spread on the people. And the people said, I do to everything he said. They were afraid because the mountain was shaken. It was on fire, and they heard the voice. They said, Moses, you speak. Moshe, you speak to them for us. And whatever he says, we will do. That was their I do. And as soon as Moshe went up into the mountain, not even 40 days, and they told Aaron, up, make us an idol. Up, make us a calf. And we'll say, this is the calf that brought us out of Egypt. He wanted to kill them all. He wanted to kill them all. There was another time he wanted to kill them all. You know why? He wanted, not only through idolatry, but there was another reason why he wanted to kill them all. Anybody know? He told Moses, get back, get out of the way. I'm going to kill them all. Murmuring and complaining. They just murmured and complained. Nothing that the Most High could do would satisfy them. Just murmured and complained about everything. I don't like the skies blue. I don't like the clouds are white. I don't like being out here in the wilderness. I got a calf, but I can't kill him. I don't like the manna. Just everything. I don't like my neighbor. I don't want to pitch my tent here. Why do I got to pitch my tent here? Why I got to lay my head on a rock? I don't have a pillow. You know what their pillow was. You know what? How Jacob laid his head on that rock and it was a pillow? Anybody? Because he had dreads, he had long hair. He could put his head and put it back and lay on his head as a pillow. He had dreads. He wasn't no bald-headed man. Ezekiel wasn't no bald-headed man. Ezekiel had all this hair. He told Ezekiel, cut your hair off, and a third I want you to burn in Jerusalem. And another third that he told him to split up in 3/3. He said, shave off your head and your beard. Because he had a lot of hair. Now, in our culture, we frown on long hair. But that's just culturally driven. That's not the culture we came from. Because the culture we came from, we didn't frown on long hair. In fact, our Messiah, who was called a Nazarene, even though he was not a Nazarite, but he was called a Nazarene, and the characteristic of a Nazarene was locks, long hair. Our Messiah had hair probably off his shoulders, and the culture because we see ourselves through the lens of the people who oppress us. That's how we see ourselves. We don't see ourselves as the book. We see ourselves as how they told us. This is how you look. You're ugly. Oh, I guess I'm ugly then. I guess so. They told me I was ugly, so I guess I'm ugly. You cut all your hair off. What do you look like with that hair on your head? Oh, I better cut it off. I guess so. Well, they told me I had to do it. But nobody stops and reads the book and understand that our Messiah, who we all want to emulate and be like, had hair. He had hair. He had a beard. He had hair. They said he was a Nazarene because coming from Nazareth, the characteristics of a Nazarene or a Nazarite, they had long hair. Yeah, because if you go, you have to go to the book of Numbers, Mardbar, Go to books of Marbar and the 6th chapter, and it talks about the vow. So did they make vows in the book of Acts after the resurrection? They still made vows. And yeah, Paul did. I mean, you can still make a vow today, and a showing of your vow is you don't cut your hair. Now they won't allow that up in ecclesia. In most ecclesias, the Mashiach couldn't walk up in there. Most ecclesias would tell the Mashiach, you have to sit in the back or you have to leave. We're not going to let you come up here in front, not looking like that. You look like a hoodlum. That's all right. That was just a little sidebar. I went off into the parking lot. Because somebody can make a vow. Now the Mashiach was not a Nazirite, but they called him a Nazarene mainly because his appearance. Really, they called him a Nazarene because he came from Galilee, which was a city in Nazareth. So they called him a Nazarene. So he looked like but apparently he didn't make no vow like a Nazirite, because what's the other vow that he made that you would make as a Nazirite besides not cutting your hair? No wine. And we know our Messiah, he didn't make that vow of not drinking wine because they called him a wine bibber. There might have been 1 or 2 times they said, wait. Because they called him a wine bibber. And he did drink wine. So you have ecclesia today that would not accept the Mashiach of this book. They wouldn't accept him. So what will they accept? Now remember, the Mashiach say, I come in my Father's name and you don't receive me. He says, another will come what? In his name, and you what? That's who you're going to receive. So he just prophesied of what was going to come. Because if the Messiah, the Mashiach that lived 2,000 years ago, if he walked up in here right now in this room, some people would have a problem with him. Some people would have a problem with them because we're trained to think and believe a certain way. We're trained to do that. Just let me drop this 5, and this is St. John 5 and 43. Yahuchanan 5:43. I come in my Father's name and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him ye will receive. And that's what's happened. Believe it or not, that's what's happened. People have received another Mashiach, another Christ. They've received another one. So there was another verse I wanted to bring out, because remember we were talking about Romans 15 and 8, right? This is our foundational scripture for today. Because I'm using this and I want to build up because we have some feasts coming. We got the feast of trumpets, which is going to be at sundown September 6th to sundown September 7th. Sundown September 6th to sundown September 7th is the Feast of Trumpet. The Feast of Atonement is sundown on the 15th to sundown on the 16th. Now I said that our fast would be 6A to 6A. It's not. It's going to be 6P to 6P. Sundown to sundown is what our fast is going to be. So sundown on the 15th to sundown on the 16th is going to be our fast. Sundown on the 15th to sundown on the 16th is our fast. The Feast of Tabernacles is coming up, and that starts on the full moon on that night of September 20th. This is actually the night of September 20th to the sundown of September 20th. Sundown on September 21st is actually the day our Messiah was born, and then he was circumcised on the 8th day. But we're having our Feast of Tabernacles, and we reserved some lots at Kickapoo State Park, and what we reserved, I was able to reserve 7 lots, and those lots are full. But anybody who wants to go, and I'm compiling a list, but we can put up 2 tents on each lot. Yeah, you can put up 2 tents on each lot. So some of our lots, there's going to be 2 tents up. You can't put up more than 2 tents, but you can put up 2 tents. So you have some people I've seen out there, you have campers and you have a tent put up, and they might have a small tent for the kids, but they have their camper there or an RV, and then they would have another tent outside of it, because you're allowed to put up 2 tents on the lot. So we've got 7 lots, and that's 7 tents, or we can get up to 14 tents. So we've got on some of those lots, there's going to be 2 tents put up. But we're going to be celebrating Feast of Tabernacles from the 24th. And after this class, and then and even tomorrow, and I'll go over that list of the 7 lots that are filled up, and then where we could put the additional tents. That's going to be September 24th through September 27th. So we're going to be there September 24th at 3 o'clock and leaving September, that Monday, September 27th at 3 o'clock. The Feast of Tabernacle. And we're going to be there with Pastor Johnson from Indianapolis, Kingdom Assemblies in Indianapolis, Kingdom Life Assemblies in Indianapolis. And we're going to be there with them. Also, August 28th, the Shabbat on August 28th, Indianapolis will be here. August 28th. Pastor and Sister Johnson and the members from Kingdom Life Assembly will be here August 28th for a Shabbat class. Yes.
So is it worth investing in tents and stuff, camping stuff, so that we're gonna go more than once?
I'm sorry.
Is it worth investing in tents and stuff, if we're going more than once, are we gonna camping more than once?
Yeah, I mean, if you like to, we're going to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, but if there's any time through the year where you want to go camping or whatever, not by yourself, yeah. But we're, yeah, I mean, you can invest in maybe not, I mean, we're going to do this yearly, but there might be other times during the year we might do some. Because we don't have to, we're going to Kickapoo State Park to be in fellowship with Kingdom Life Assemblies, but there's campgrounds around here. We can practice on, pitching our tents and living in a tent and stuff. Why? I don't want to come out of my house and live in a tent. Well, that's what our Messiah did. He said a body was prepared for me. He said a body was prepared for me, and he came down and filled that body with his spirit. And that's what we're celebrating, is the Feast of Tabernacles. We say Emmanuel, that's one of his names, Emmanuel. And we know what that means, Elohim with us. And so that's how he's with us. In Revelation, it says he'd come and tabernacle with us. But we get closer to the Feast of Tabernacles. We're going to talk about Zechariah. And we'll be visiting the prophet Zechariah the closer we get to Tabernacles. Because a lot of people in the ecclesia tells you that it doesn't matter. It don't matter. You don't have to do that. You have some folks, I've been in the ecclesia all my life. Do you know what I say when I say ecclesia? Everybody knows what I say when I say ecclesia, right? Right. Church. I've been in ecclesia all my life. We've never done this. In fact, the previous generations, they've been in ecclesia all their life. They've never done it. It doesn't matter. We don't have to do it. Well, we'll see what the prophet Zechariah says about that. And those who have that mentality that you don't have to do it. And I'm not doing that. Well, we'll see what happens. Because the day's coming when you say that, okay, the plague's coming on you. The plague is coming, So we practice now. And anybody that's great in the kingdom, and they'll be teachers in the kingdom that comes when we pray, thy kingdom come, and those who will be teachers in that kingdom are those who know how to teach the law. And so if you don't know how to teach the law, you're not going to teach. You're not going to be a teacher. He's not going to put somebody up to teach his law in all these cities around the world, and you don't even believe in it, and you've never done it. You've never taught the commandments, and you think he's going to send you out to a city to teach commandments, and you've never done it? You don't even believe in the Shabbat. You think he's going to have you, okay, let's give this preacher, your subject is teach on the Shabbat. Oh, I don't know. I never taught on Shabbat. You think he's going to do that? He ain't sending nobody out to teach the Shabbat. They don't believe in it. That's not going to happen. That's why he says anybody who teaches you to break these commandments, the least of these commandments, is going to be least in the kingdom. That's why he said, because you ain't going to do no teaching. You got a lot of preachers today, and we crown people, prince of preachers, ain't going to do no teaching when his kingdom comes. They ain't going to do no teaching. Why? Because they taught people to break his commandments. Now, you can fool around with his Torah and his word if you want to, but believe it or not, he's going to have the last say. Okay, to confirm the promises. Let's go to Isaiah 49 and verse 15 and 16. Isaiah 49, 15 and 16. Hallelujah. The question was asked, did you say the birth of Christ on September 21st? Yeah, from September sundown on the 20th to sundown on the 21st, actually that day, because they measured their days evening to evening, evening first and then the morning. That's how they measured their days. But yes, from September 20th sundown to September 21st sundown, that's the first day of the Feast of Tabernacle. That was the day he was born. So that's when we're looking at the birth of our Messiah. Is September 20th, September 21st is the birth of our Messiah. Yes. Did I answer your question? So, yeah, the Messiah was born. Pastor Johnson said in the chat room that Messiah was born during the Feast of Tabernacle. That's when he was. So all this teaches is important because we're talking about the birth of our Messiah when he came. He was not born on December 25th. Everybody who believes that believes a lie. That's Tammuz. It's the winter solstice. And everybody who believes that and celebrates that, that's a lie. Oh. Okay, I'm going to come back to Isaiah 49. But all those people who like to celebrate all that other stuff, Exodus 23:13, this is for everybody who likes to celebrate all that paganism. This is what he says. That's why there should be a mark upon Yasharal. We're to bear his mark. And where is his mark supposed to be on us? Right up here, that's right. Right between your eyes, the frontlet of your eyes, right between your eyes. The mark should be right here on Yasharal. Now, is he putting a physical mark on you? No. But he's saying, my word, my oracles, and everything needs to be the forefront of your mind. Right here. Should be at the forefront. So it should be a mark on us. Now let's listen to Exodus. Al-Shemut. I think that's what it is. Al-Shemut. I think it's Al-Shemut. Exodus. And it says, Exodus 23:13. And in all that I have said unto you, be circumspect, which means you really need to be careful and calculating. Be circumspect. Let's think about this thing. Let's reason it. Let's calculate. Let's be careful. In all things be circumspect and make no mention of the name of other gods, G-O-Ds. Don't even make mention of them. He says, neither let it be heard out of your mouth. Now, notice, make no mention has to be a little different than coming out of my mouth. Coming out of your mouth means you're speaking it. Making no mention is you don't even entertain it. So where do I not even entertain it? I don't entertain it up here. I don't even entertain it. There's no mention of it. There's no entertainment of it. I mean, people who want to bring, it's getting so elementary to me now, people in ecclesia that still wants to support their pagan trees and all the lights. And I'm not even going to take it to Jeremiah 10. I don't have to anymore. I don't need that. I don't need that. Jeremiah 10 says, learn not the way of the heathen. You know, it says she go out in the field, she cuts down a tree, she brings it into her house, and she decks it with silver and gold. She fashions it to the floor. She decks it with silver and gold. Then you have people in ecclesia that says, well, that's not talking about the Christmas tree. It don't have to talk about, I don't care. Anymore, I don't care. Don't even bring that argument to me. If you want to practice it, go ahead and practice it. Just as long as you know. This is what he says. I don't even want you to mention that. I don't even want it to come out of your mouth. And you have people who will debate with you on Jeremiah 10. I don't care anymore. Don't even bring that to me. Keep it. Go to one of those other preachers down the street. Don't bring it here. Because you're not going to get anywhere with it. We're not even supposed to speak it. So if I'm not even supposed to speak it, you think he wants me to cut a tree down and bring it into my house? I mean, it doesn't make no sense. When you think about it, it doesn't make no sense. And then he says, I want to mark you. You're my people. I want to mark you so that all other nations can look at my nations and say, that's how you're supposed to do it. But if his nation is doing everything that all the other nations is, there ain't no difference between his nation and the nations of the world. There ain't no difference. There ain't no difference. And you got some folks that just love to gloat in, I'm so holy, I'm so different, I'm so holy, and put up a Christmas tree. I mean, y'all, just when it comes to me and this address, keep stepping. There's some other places down the street, just keep on going. Because I'm not even going to entertain that argument. It's baseless. It's baseless. So we were Isaiah 49:15, and then let's build on Romans 15:8. Okay, Isaiah 49:15 says, can a woman forget her sucking child that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea. Now most mothers not going to forget that they carried a child. They have a child. They gave suck to that child. They bore that child. They carried the child in the womb. There's a reason why it's 9 months. You're supposed to remember the whole stages of it, of bringing forth life, is supposed to be remembered. You're never to forget it. And then he throws some pain in there so you don't forget. Don't you ever forget you gave birth to a child. Because men can forget. In a drunken slumber, they can forget. You mean I made a child? I didn't make no child. I don't even remember that day. Oh, Lot did it. And there was others, they did it. Even, Noah got so drunk, he didn't know what happened. He got drunk. So men can forget things, but he told a woman, you better not forget. Can a woman forget her sucking child that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, he goes on to say, they may forget, yet I will not forget thee. He says, behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continually before me. Now, the walls that he's talking about here is what we call grace is what we call grace. Because if you look up grace, grace is a barrier or a wall around his people that he looks at it and he says, it's beautiful unto me. Because these people got protection. The wall is built around them. Now, Ecclesia has taken it and called it and make you think it's something else. To where people say, I ain't under no law, policies, instructions. I'm under grace. I can do whatever I want to do without knowing what grace is. He says, thy walls are continually before me. So, Romans 15:8. Now, I'm going to ask that question again. Now I say that Yahushua Mashiach, Jesus Christ, was a minister of the circumcision for the truth of Elohim. Why was he a minister for the truth? To confirm the promises made unto the fathers. Now, why would he have to confirm the promises? After we brought all out those scriptures, why would he have to confirm those promises? They was going to forget. They forgot who they were. Their heritage was taken away. They got so far from them. They broke the covenant. They did all of that. So he says, okay, all right, let me confirm everything I said before unto my people. Let me put a marker down here and confirm it. Because a lot of people like to sing that song, lest I forget, God's enemy. I know I can't sing, y'all. I know. Lest I forget thy love for me. And they say, lest I forget, lead me to Calvary. But the reason why he sent his son was you've forgotten everything that happened all before he came. You forgot all of that. And he had to. Okay. He had to confirm everything he said because notice now, what does he say? The promises, who were the promises made unto? Right. Promises were made unto the fathers. So he had to come and confirm the promises that he made unto the fathers. Because we had forgot, his people were going to forget. His people were going to be dumber than animals. They had broken the covenant. They had been transgressors. They were taken out of their land. There was a conspiracy to take away their name and to where they weren't even recognized as a nation anymore. Usually, if you're a nation, one of the things about a nation is you have boundaries. The reason why you look at the United States of America, you got the Atlantic Ocean on one side, Pacific Ocean on the other. You've I'm gonna keep those promises. Oh, okay. My battery. I'm hoping these batteries that I have here are good. Those are bad. Let's see if these are good.
don't know when they went bad.
Testing. Yeah. Okay. I don't know when it went bad, but so what was the last thing you guys heard in the digital house before they went bad? What was I talking about before the sound went bad? So he had to confirm those promises that he had made unto the fathers. He had to confirm that. So every time we sing about the Messiah, we talk about the Messiah, we believe in the Messiah, we're baptized into Messiah, all of that is to confirm those promises that he had made unto us. Okay? So let's look at some of those promises. Before we start to look at some of those promises, in Romans 9 and verse number 4. First, before we go Romans 9 and 4, let's go to Romans 3 and look at verse 1. Romans 3 and 1 and 3 and 2, and then let's go to Romans 9 and 4. Now, the writer of this book, for everybody who makes that statement, it doesn't matter, and that things are written in this book doesn't matter. I mean, I have a hard time listening to people like that. People who are of that knowledge base, that things that are written in the Bible doesn't matter. I have a problem listening to them because now you're usurping authority over the Most High Yah, and you're trying to tell me what matters and doesn't matter in the Most High Yah's word. Now, I have a problem with that because if you don't like me, then you're going to tell me what matters and what doesn't matter. And unless you know how to compile and build a precept upon precept, precept upon precept, you can use this word and tell me I'm going to hell. And I ain't going. I ain't going to hell. I'm sorry, y'all. I ain't going to hell. Well, what sends you to hell? Sin and transgression. He says in 1 John chapter 3, he tells you what sin is. Sin is a transgression of the law. And it's that sin of the transgression of the law. And we'll look in some verses today, hopefully, if it don't get too late. We'll look into some verses today to show you where the people had committed sin against their transgression. They transgressed his law, and that's the reason why they're in the condition that they're in, is because they transgressed the law. And then you have people in ecclesia telling you there is no law. Well, isn't that what got Israel in trouble? Isn't that what got Yahshua in trouble? Is because they transgressed the law. Now you're telling me that there is none. So if you take away the law, you know what they take away? They take away, yeah. Let's look at this. When they take away the law, what do they take away? You took away my light. I can't see. So if I can't see, I'm walking in darkness. Am I going to stumble and fall? Oh, yeah. If you're walking in darkness, you're going to stumble and fall. You'll be stumbling all over the place because they took away the light. They purposely, now you got people in ecclesia, they repeat what they heard and what was given to them from the previous generation. They just heard it. Somebody was sharing with me, somebody on a high level, talking about the Old Testament. All that's done. Isn't that what they said? All done away with? Sister Victoria, you showed me that, right? Yeah, talking about all of it's done away with. See, there's a high person in profile in a worldwide organization. Well, what they did is they take away the light. So if they take away the light, then you're liable to fumble, stumble, and fall into transgression. You won't even know you're in transgression because there's no light.
So Hebrews who are only Torah based, they take away the Messiah. They don't, because they don't believe in the New Testament. That's when the Messiah came during that period. They take away from the Messiah. The Messiah don't even exist to them.
Yeah, well, that's the light too. I mean, so how could the Messiah be light and the law is light? Because Yahuchanan 1:14 says what? Yahuchanan 1:14 says what? Huh?
The word was made flesh and dwelt among us.
So that law or that word, that Torah, that light was made flesh.
So the light is out for them.
Yeah. I mean, because the law is light. He was made flesh. That law was made flesh. And it dwelt among us. I mean, we beheld. He says, walk while you have what? Light. You better walk while you have light. Because the day is coming, there ain't going to be no light. And for a lot of people, there is no light. There's no light. So they stumble in darkness. Because you got some folks that'll tell you the law's done away with. So when you break the law, oh, that ain't sin.
Right.
And then they'll tell you what sin is. No, that ain't sin, but sin is a red pair of shoes. Sin is if you paint your front door of your house red. Now that's sin. Which ain't got no biblical base. No Torah base at all. No Torah base. All you brothers got to wear black and brown shoes. If you wear anything else besides black and brown shoes, you're in sin. Now, you can keep walking with that now. Just keep on walking. Act like you don't even see me. I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm not going to entertain that. I've grown up. I'm past that. I'm past all those little things that you try. I wish I could talk. I wish I could talk. All you can wear is a white shirt. You better get out of here with that. And try to tell us what sin is and don't know. Our sons and daughters wore earrings before there was an awl put in their ear to signify slavery to their master. They had earrings in their ears. Now, if you put a hole in your ear, that means you're enslaved to them. Well, what about all that? Because you can't even teach me this book. They would put your ear up against the doorpost and bore a hole through your ear that everybody could see. Whenever you went into the marketplace, oh, we know they're a slave to somebody. That ain't talking about no piercing your ear. You put an earring in. He told, oh, I wish I could talk. Because when they was in the wilderness and he says, I'm going to make Aholiab, and who was that other one? Bezaleel and Aholiab. I'm going to give them skill in artifactors and gold and melting gold and everything like to make my temple. And all of the people, they took their earrings, their jewelry, everything that was gold, and they gave it unto Moshe to build for all the artifacts in the temple. And then Moshe says, I've got enough, y'all. Stop bringing it. You keep your own. They had lots of gold. Their sons and daughters wore gold. In Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, I wish I could talk. Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, he says, I decked you out. I made you beautiful. But then he says, yeah, but you trusted in your own beauty and played the whore. So when he makes us beautiful, you don't put no trust. I just look good. I can't help it. He made me beautiful. And that's how Israel should look and feel. You ugly. And so people tell you ugly and you believe it. I don't believe. I stopped listening. I'm done listening to some folk. Y'all better just keep stepping. Keep on walking. There's a song out there years ago, walk on by. Keep walking. Just keep on walking, because I ain't hearing it. He made me who I am. I don't care if you think I look good or not. He made me who I am. He said, I decked you out. I made you look beautiful. Your sin was you trusted in your beauty and played the whore. You're supposed to look, so we're supposed to look beautiful unto him. Don't trust in your own beauty to where you go play the whore. Look beautiful unto him. Your hair is too long. How do you know I didn't make a vow? How do you know that? You don't know that. You see me through the perspective and the lens of your oppressor. That's how you see me. And you got saved, sanctified, holy folk that's so holy. Their heads is up in the clouds. They'll ignore you and talk about how holy they are. I'm so holy, I hate my brother. But I'm so holy. You better look at me like I'm sanctimonious. But I'll cut his throat in a minute. And you so holy. I'll ignore you and walk right past you. Walk on by. And you so sanctimonious, you can't even greet me as a brother or a sister. And I'll take the shirt off my back and give it to you. And I've helped out a lot of people. People know up in here. I've helped out a lot of people up in here. Spent money. And you're going to walk by me like you don't know me. And you so holy and sanctified. I wish I could talk. I'm done with all that. I'm done with all that. I'm done. Keep on walking. Go on with your bad self. Go on with your bad self. Because none of y'all can send me to hell. The only thing that can send me to hell is if when I transgress if I transgress his law, that's on me. If I transgress his law, that's on me. 1 John 3 and 4. Man, we got so many sanctified, sanctimonious, holy folks, heads all up in the clouds. We got so much of that today. Huh? What? Oh, in the clouds, yeah. It used to really bother me, but when I could get it off my chest, y'all let me talk to you and get it off my chest, that helps me. And I can just let them keep on walking then. You got some folks you try to help and reach out to and communicate and do all kind of stuff for them, and they just want to ignore you and act like you ain't saved. Well, then go on. Go to your heaven that has no law. Go visit the Most High Yah, who you feel ain't got no law. That you can do whatever you want to do. Okay. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. So ask your preacher, ask your massa, your shepherd, ask them what is sin. And if they can't take you to this verse and break it down to you, They don't know. And I don't have to listen to you then. Okay. Whew. Get that off me. Well, Romans, are y'all tired yet? Do we need a I'm ready to get, I'm done. I'm done. When anybody say that it doesn't matter who Yasharal is and all of that stuff is done away with, you can listen to him if you want to, but you can also take him to the scripture because Shaul addressed it. And he says, what advantage then hath the Yehudi? Now, he said Yehudi. Now, how do you know he said Yehudi? Because in the Hebrew language, there's no J, there's no E, there's no W. There's no J, no E, no W in the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language has 22 characters, and the English language has 26. The 4 extra characters that you have in the English that you don't have in the Hebrew is J, E, W, and V. So when you, Sister Marge, so when you look at some of those, even when you look at Jehovah, just as long as you know in Jehovah there's no J, there's no E, there's no V. So, so what he says is, what advantage then have the Yehudi? Because Yehudi is one. Yahudim is plural. Or what profit is there of circumcision? He says, much every way. So he's getting ready to tell you why. Chiefly, so why is there an advantage with Israel, Yasharal? Why is there an advantage? Because that unto them were committed the oracles of Elohim. And the oracles is what came down from heaven. So when the Most High Yah spoke to Moshe, those were oracles. Oracles coming down from the Shamayim, and he gave them to Moshe. And he said, so Shaul says, they do have an advantage, y'all. Now you might think it doesn't matter, and you're putting them away, and it doesn't matter who they are. There is an advantage with them because it was given unto them. The oracles that rained down from heaven was given unto Moshe. And who did Moshe give it to? Gave it to Israel. Because they went into Egypt as a family. They were given birth to in captivity. They became a nation. You cannot have a nation without some form of government. Can't have a nation without some form of government. And that's why he says in Isaiah 9 and 7, he says, I'm going to increase my government, preacher. Saved and sanctified and Holy Ghost filled people. So sanctimonious. Hey, hallelujah. He says, I'm going to increase my government. So anybody that's against government, do I have to bring that out? Or do you guys know where it's at? We know where it's at? Isaiah 9 and 7. Of the increase of government and peace, no end. Because when he gave birth to a nation, you cannot have a nation of people and have no government. Everybody can do whatever they want to do. The preacher that tells that lie, and I know we respect preachers and everything, but one of these days somebody's going to stand up and tell you, stop lying. Right there in front of the congregation, that's going to stand the preacher. You better stop that lying. Grace ain't do what you ever want to do. Grace is a barrier. It's a wall around his people to protect his people from judgment that's coming. That's why he told Noah, Noah found grace in my eyes. Because everybody else has to withstand government or judgment. But Noah found grace. So I don't believe you, Hazlet. I don't believe you. Verse number 3. What if some did not believe? Because everybody who says, I don't believe that, you're in the book. You're right here in the book. In fact, everybody's in the book. Even liars. All y'all. All y'all up in here. Revelations 21:7 or 21:8 says, the fearful and what? Unbelieving. So all y'all unbelievers, y'all in the book. He ain't going to miss you. All fools are in the book. Psalms 14:1. All y'all fools is up in here. He got a lock on all y'all. He got a lock on y'all. The fool have said in his heart, no Elohim. Ain't no Elohim. I don't know why y'all living like that. I don't know why y'all believing like that. Ain't no Elohim. That's foolish speaking, man. I mean, I don't even entertain that. You're up in the book. So Romans 3:3, what if some did not believe? Shall your unbelief, you so saved and sanctimonious, but does your unbelief, you think you're going to make the faith of Elohim without effect? You know what he calls you? He calls you a liar. He says, Elohim forbid, yea, let Elohim be true, but every man a liar. So why are you fooling around with liars? If somebody don't believe it, man, I don't believe that. Well, go on. That's right. Tell them, Deacon Fool. Go on with your bad self. It ain't going to change nothing. It doesn't change a thing. Okay. I want to hurry up and get to my lesson for today. Y'all get something to eat. This might be an all day. Y'all get something to eat. Okay. Romans 9:4. Should we take a break and sing a song? Okay. Who are Israelites to whom, this is Romans 9:4. And I understand if people got to do something today, you got to, you got busy schedules, you got to do something and you have to go. I understand that. I used to, I'd be upstairs and nobody in the building and I would practice preaching. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I practice preaching. Nobody's there. But if you heard me, you think I had a full house. If you heard me, somebody might walk by and say, man, I don't see no car. I don't see nobody in there. But So what are you saying? All y'all can leave. I can still talk. Okay. Who are Israelites to whom pertain the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service and the promises. So who was given the adoption? Who was given the glory? Who was given the covenants? Who was given the law? Who was given the service? And who was given the promises? Israel was. It says it right there. Israelites. So they do have an advantage. They do have an advantage. And that's why everybody wants to be Israelite. In fact, if you're not in Israel, then you don't get the promises. You have to be in Israel because that's who it was given to. That's why he says in Romans 11:26, and all Israel, all Yasharah. Let's look at that. Romans 11:26. He says, and so all Yasharah shall be saved. So if you're not in Israel, if you're not in Yasharah, you're left out. Because they have the advantage and everything was given unto them. All right? So let's look at some of these promises. We're going to start at Genesis 17. So this is the lesson for today. Start at Genesis 17. It's about 2 hours and we're getting started. Yeah, I had to get warmed up. Okay, so in Genesis 17, for the sake of time, I'm not going to read all of this, but I want to get down. Well, I don't know. And when Abram, Genesis 17:1, we'll read down. And when Abram was 90 years old and 99 now, 99. Now, this isn't the first time he spoke to him. Everybody knows that, right? Okay. Yah appeared to Abram and said unto him, what he says here was Elohim Shaddai. That's what he says. Almighty Elohim is we say El Shaddai or Al Shaddai. Al Shaddai is what he said. I, Al Shaddai, walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and Elohim talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Verse number 5, neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be called Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. Now, had Ishmael been born?
99,
Okay.
There was a part where Sarah, his wife, said, well, maybe God meant for you to have it.
You said Ishmael wasn't born?
Yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was about 86 when Ishmael was born.
Well, Ishmael was 13 years older than Isaac.
So this is right before the other one came.
So notice now, Ishmael was born before a major event here. Ishmael was born before. Let's see. This is the 16th chapter of Genesis, 16:3. And Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So Ishmael was born before what major event? Thank you. So Ishmael was born before circumcision. So Ishmael and his seed were not, yes.
It says Genesis 15 and 16, and Abraham was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abraham.
Yeah, right. So he was 86, right? 86, he was 86 years old when Hagar bore. But the point here, because we have to recognize this, because a lot of people miss this, and they want to give a lot of things to the Ishmaelites. But there's something that happened after he had went into Hagar, and she gave him a son, Ishmael. Even though he had blessed Ishmael and Ishmael received his blessings, Ishmael was not of the circumcision. He was not of the circumcision. There's a difference between the Ishmaelites and those of the circumcision. So you have a lot of people claiming they're Ishmaelites and they have promises, all these promises unto them. They do not. They don't have the promises that was given unto the promised seed. Okay, verse number 7. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee. After this covenant, there really was no covenant unto Ishmael like he gave unto Isaac. There wasn't. Now, the time where Sarah, and we won't get into all this, Sarah and her Sarah was the mistress and her Hagar was the maid, and what went on with them, but and then how the Most High honors Abram and his wife, and how he didn't even recognize Abram's concubine, because there's an order with him. With the Most High, there's order. If you don't follow his order, then you're out of order. And there's a lot of houses and everything that's out of order, because what was given unto Abram and the mistress of the house was above all of what Abram had before with Hagar. Because even when Sarah told Abram, you better get rid of that woman. Get her out of my house. Get her out of my house. She ain't going. And she said, she has no inheritance up in here. But what happened to Abraham? How did he feel about it? He was broken. I'm not giving up my concubine or my son. I ain't giving up none of them. And so Abraham went to the Most High, thinking the Most High is going to plead his case, because he's the Adam or Adam. I'm the alpha male here. I'm the man. Most High is going to listen to me because I'm alpha male. And then the Most High says, listen to Sarah and get rid of her. So there's order with him. And a lot of times we don't follow that order. And anytime you don't, even all the laws, everything he gave, okay, the way the Hebrews looked at the law, the way they look at the law through their perspective, they look at it as, if I'm following his law, I'm in order with him. Gentile nations look at the law and says, if you keep the law, you're moral. There's morality with the law. That's not how Israel looked at it. That's not how the Hebrews looked at it. The Hebrews looked at it, if I keep his law, I keep order. So it's how you look at it, two perspectives. This book was not given to heathen nations. It was given to some Hebrews. That's who it was given to. That's why he donated a whole book to Hebrew. All y'all hard-headed Hebrew folks, now we got to set order here. Yes. Right. Yeah. Right.
But is that physical wealth
Right.
richness? I mean,
The,
it's physical wealth rich, but you have eternal life rich.
It's rich in
They're
this
living.
world.
They're living their best life now.
Yeah.
This is their heaven
Right,
here.
right.
This is their heaven. Yeah.
is it the first thing he said unto Abram? Okay, all the way back to Genesis 12. This is what to answer your question on Ishmael. Okay, and Yah had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee, and I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee, and in thee and shall all the families of the earth be blessed. There's another one where he says, and then in 12 and 7, and Yah appeared unto Abram and said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded he an altar unto Yahuwah, who appeared unto him. Okay, he blesses Abram, and wherever he sets foot, and he's going to make nations of them, he blessed the land. So the land, whoever inherits that land, what do they get? They get the blessings of that land. So where you see the Ishmaelites and you see all that land that they have, what's really making them wealth is what? The land. It's the land that's building their wealth, because you can have the land, but if you don't do nothing with it, where are you going to get your riches? And if you look at the land, the wealth of that land is really what drove the world economy for so long, that made them. It wasn't so much them, it was the wealth of the land. Okay? So when the land goes away, what's going to go away? Their wealth.
Genesis 17:20, it says, and as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation.
Yeah. So that blessing came upon Ishmael because of Abram. But that blessing came on Ishmael when Ishmael was created by Abram, or through his seed. That came on Ishmael before Abram was circumcised. So we see a covenant. We're going to see, let's go back to Genesis 17. We see a covenant in verse number 7. We see a covenant that's going to come through something that he didn't give Ishmael. He didn't give this unto Ishmael. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee and thy seed after thee in their generations, for what? An everlasting covenant. An everlasting covenant. This was not given unto Ishmael. This wasn't given unto Ishmael. To be a what? This is a part of the covenant now. I'm going to be your Elohim. I'm going to be your Elohim. And to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. And I will be there, talking about the future now, their Elohim. So this was a covenant that he made going down to verse, because he says it again. Yeah, verse 13 there. He talks about the circumcision, and on the 8th day they were supposed to do it. And that's a key. The 8th day Verse 13, he that is born in thine house and he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh. My covenant's going to be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. So what he had given unto Abraham through Isaac was an everlasting covenant, and that covenant was in the flesh. It was in his flesh, and it was not to be broken, not even to today. Why would you say that today? Why should it not be broken even today? It's a sign on the flesh. But what is it in the flesh? He says it here. It's an evernight. He says, my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. So it was never to be broken. Never to be broken. But who did he give it to now? He gave it to Abraham through Isaac and all of the seed of Isaac. So how many sons did Isaac have? He had two. One, but which one of the two, which one did he choose? Jacob. He chose Jacob out of those two. So you had the circumcision of Isaac. It passed on not to Esau, but to Jacob. This is key. The circumcision of Isaac was not passed down to Esau. Not that Esau didn't receive blessings, just like Ishmael, they got blessings, but there was a mark upon those who were of the promised seed. There was a mark upon them, okay? So we have to see that. Let's go down to verse number 19. Yes. Did you have your hand up? Okay. And Elohim said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Yishak, or Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant with his seed after him. What's the significance here? Well, it's with Isaac. Now, did Abraham have any other seed after Isaac? Yes, he did. But the mark on the flesh was given to Isaac. And then Isaac was to give it to his seed. Moshe had sons by his concubine and Keturah after the death of Sarah. That's why you see the Midianites and some of those other ones were uncircumcised. They were of the uncircumcision. Well, I thought they was through Abraham. But the circumcision didn't pass. Notice now he's dealing with Sarah and her son Isaac. And it says an everlasting covenant. This comes up to play again, especially when you see Moshe, because Moshe's mother was not an Israelite. Not Moshe's mother. Moshe's wife was not an Israelite. She was from the tribe of, she was a Midianite. And they were not under that covenant of circumcision. That's why his sons were not circumcised. So when they came down into Egypt, before they could go into the wilderness, the Most High says, nope, you got to circumcise those boys. And it was the mother that had to go in there and circumcise her sons, and threw the foreskin of her sons at Moses' feet and says, a bloody husband thou art unto me. Because they were not of the circumcised seed coming through Isaac. Yes.
It's funny because even though the countries that has the most or high percentage of circumcised males, um, Northwest Africa, Middle East, it's not the highest in the world. It's the Gentiles that has the highest number of circumcised males in the world.
Right.
Even though he gave that specifically to Abraham
And to his seed.
to his seed. But when you look at the whole world, I mean, just in those, when you look at the whole country, it's those regions. But when you look at the whole world and you compare it across everything, when you calculate everything, it's not Abraham's seed that has the highest.
But we'll see, because they're changing it up at the hospitals. They don't even offer circumcision anymore. You have to make an out of the hospital appointment to get your child circumcised now. They don't do it after birth.
Yeah. Yeah. A distinction is coming up, and everything is going to go back to where he had planned it to be. People, land, and all that is going to go back to how he planned it to be. That's coming in the future, and a lot of people are going to get upset. They're not going to like it, but he's going to restore everything back to where its original place. Even how he divided up the world in the time of Noah, and he sent them off. He told them where your area is supposed to be. He told them that. And then it was prophesied that Japheth was going to dwell in the tents of Shem. But that's not how it was supposed to be at first. So he's going to restore everything back to where it was. You got to get out of Shem's tent. Shem, you're going back to your tent. You got to get out of there. He's going to just realign the whole landscape. But that's coming. But talking about that everlasting covenant, see, he did not give that everlasting covenant but to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So if you were not of that seed, you were not in that everlasting covenant. So those other nations, even though they might have started taking the covenant and they do it more for cleanliness and not to pass on infection, that's the reason why they're doing it. But the covenant wasn't given to you. So whether you keep it or not, or break it or not, it wasn't given it to you. The problem he has is the ones he gave it to, they broke it. That's his problem. Yes.
So that brings up another question. So do you think it would matter in today's time, since he did cause his people to intentionally forget because they were disobedient? Do you think in this day and time, would it affect your offspring if you were not circumcised? I mean, or is it every man, woman, boy, and girl for themselves, no matter what your father did? I'm not just talking about sin. I'm just talking about the circumcision. Do you think that would have an effect spiritually upon your offspring? If you're a male and you broke that covenant, but you did it unknowingly, well, you didn't do it unknowingly. Your parents didn't get you circumcised. So it wasn't your fault. You were the newborn.
Yeah.
You know, would that affect your offspring, do you think?
I don't know. I don't know. They had broken this covenant that he made. They frequently broke it before they even got into Canaan.
Right.
Because he told Moses, you got to do it. They had to do it in the wilderness because they had sons who weren't. Then he told Joshua, y'all can't go into the land. Wait a minute. What do you mean you can't go to the land? You haven't circumcised your sons. In the wilderness, they didn't do it. You know, even in the time that they were a nation, they still broke it. You know, leading up to Christ, you know, they were still breaking that covenant. Now, when Paul had to deal with a Gentile nation, he told that Gentile nation, let me go to Jerusalem, let's have a council and everything. So if you're a Gentile, you're not under that everlasting covenant through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that seed. Remember now, it's a covenant in the flesh. So you have heathen nations that are not of that bloodline. That covenant is not in their flesh. Now, if they choose to do it, they can. If they don't, that's fine. Because Shaul had to deal with that. You're talking about these people. They're not under that flesh covenant. They're not under that. We're not talking about salvation and being born again of water and spirit. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a fleshly covenant. And that was the issue when you get to the book of Galatians. So if we can't go back to the beginning and understand how this was given and who it was given to, then it's easy for us to misinterpret the scriptures and then come up with our own doctrine and our own traditions.
I mean, because I don't want anything to be placed upon me for something my forefathers
You can't.
did and
You can't.
or didn't do, because
You
a lot
can't.
had to do with like slavery. Like people were born at home, they didn't do circumcisions after a certain period of time because they had babies at home. They couldn't afford to go to the doctor.
Yeah, but Israel, Yasharal, those women, they knew how to circumcise their sons. They knew how to do it.
A lot of them didn't circumcise because they had their babies at home down south.
Because for example, when Moshe was born, who do you think circumcised him?
The women.
It was his mother that did it. Moshe was circumcised. They knew. Those people in Egypt, in the Pharaoh's house, knew that Moshe was a Hebrew because he was circumcised. Because the Egyptians didn't circumcise their sons. Moshe was circumcised. They knew he was a Hebrew. They tried to hide it in the house, but they knew he was a Hebrew. He was circumcised. Yes.
I was trying to wait for an opportune time, but when going back a little bit with Sarah, I was just thinking that the Most High really has a lot of favor for wives because Sarah is the one told her husband to have sex with the maid. Then later on, what you said, 11 years later, then tell her, but get up out of here. But you started it, so it sounded like she started a problem, but it seemed like the Most High took her side. She was out of order.
Yeah. See, there's some things that the Most High won't do unless we try to get right or do something right. And then we see his power come in and work. Because a lot of times we don't want to change or do nothing right, but we want him to do everything. Well, he's waiting on us. He's waiting on you. You do right, I'm going to show you I'm your most high power. Because a lot of times we want to keep sin in the camp, but we want him to work miracles. Uh-oh. My hands are tied. You broke my law. You got some people living in adultery, but then they want all this magical work, all this power and everything. His hands are tied. You got to deal with that adultery first. I'm not going to, But then when they start to move and get in line and deal with it, now we start to see the Most High power work in our lives. So he is not going to justify the wicked or clear the guilty. He doesn't do that. You have to deal with it, get it right, and we can see his Most High power work. But and so with Sarah, now he didn't want Abram to go in to Hagar at all. Because I've given you the promise. What, you think my word ain't good? I already told you what's going to happen. I'm too old for that. I'm 86 now. Come on. I need look at Sarah. How's two old people going? She's gone past the flower of her age, her youth. She can't even bear children. That's why he had to restore all of that back to her. Even in the 18th chapter of Genesis, when she's found in the tent laughing because they were standing outside, and he says, this time next year, Sarah's going to give birth to a child. And Sarah laughed and said, what, in my old age? So even at that time, he hadn't restored her back yet. And then after that, he restores her youth back, the flower of her youth, and then she conceives seed. So that was the plan from the beginning. I see that was the plan from the beginning. But a lot of times we get in a hurry. We can't wait for Elohim. We get in a hurry and then we do what we want to do. Bless this mess. No, my hands are tied. My hands are tied. You deal with it. Get it. So when they got out of the house, now I can start dealing with this. So he got rid of Hagar. And what Sarah did, and because if it was left up to Abraham, he wasn't going to get rid of her. I ain't getting rid of that young. What you talking about?
Sarah did suffer too because Ishmael harassed her child all the time. She got tired of it.
Yeah, well, when she finally had a child, and yeah, it was time for like the celebration and all that. And Ishmael, I think he mocked him or said something. You know, do you know? I know family tradition. I'm the eldest son. I get the inheritance. And that must have triggered something. And Sarah said, no, you got to get this out of here because my son is the promised one. Get this woman, get this son out of here. You know, and so Most High Yah told Abraham, you better listen to your wife. Let's set this in order, get it straight now. You know, and then so she did it. He did it. And he didn't even listen to Hagar. Hagar was crying out to the Most High Yah. And the angel comes and says, we heard the voice of your son. So all of this, woman, thou art loose, and I'll take that junk, keep walking down the road with it. Because he heard the cry of the son, Ishmael, not that woman. You got some bootlegged preachers coming up. Oh, it's good to come up with a rhyme and a slogan and something, but just give it some time and watch it. It'll all fall apart. If it ain't of the Most High Yah, it's going to fall apart. Woman, thou art loose. Yeah, I'm sorry. You had
I'm just saying, like with that probably the incident with Sarah.
Pour that out. Give me some.
And how the Most High did have her bear a son at her old age. That probably gave Abraham the faith to go and sacrifice his son because he's seen that.
Yeah.
You know, if he didn't see that, do you think he would have had enough faith?
I think that, yeah.
Even go up that hill.
And I think that compiled on, because when the Most High told him, go on up and offer up a sacrifice unto me, your only begotten son, he looked out over his life and seen, man, I got to do whatever he says, because every time he says something, it does come to pass. I mean, you know, every time he says something. So, yeah, I mean, how can I doubt him?
Yeah.
Because at the time, Yishak wasn't no little baby. He wasn't like a size 8. He put wood on his back and strapped it on him and helped, and Isaac helped carry that wood up to the altar up there. So he wasn't no baby.
No, he wasn't. But he didn't have the faith before, or he wouldn't have went into Hagar. He didn't have that faith until he seen that baby born.
Yeah, yeah. Even at one time before Hagar came on the scene, he said, make Eliezer of my house the heir. He said, no, I'm going to give you a son. He says, couldn't Eliezer be the heir? He said, no. You know, and that was before Hagar. So, yeah, there was some doubt, and which, you know, he was like us. We all have some measure of doubt, even in our walk with him. There's some kind of measure of doubt. I don't know. I'm afraid to walk out there on faith. You know, I don't know. You know, we still have that. But that everlasting covenant was in the flesh. It was a flesh covenant that was everlasting, is one of the reasons why when he judges this earth, because he always begins with his house first. He begins with his house first, because you look at who was given the law, like he says here in Isaiah 24:5. He says, because they have transgressed my laws. I'm bringing down some judgment now. And those who was given the laws, people are telling you today, you don't have to obey no law. Well, that's why they got in trouble. Just what you're you're trying to tell me I don't have to obey no laws. That's what got us in trouble.
And now, why do they keep saying that we don't have to obey the Ten Commandments when they are doing them? They don't go around and kill people. They know not to steal.
Yeah.
Most marriages, they know they're not supposed to cheat on their spouse.
Right. Right. There's one commandment of the 10 that they have a problem with. And so when they don't want to keep that one out of the 10, they say, well, we're not under all of that. We're not under that.
So they're saying it, but they're really living it.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep it.
Yeah. And generally speaking, especially when you get into a holiness church, they know that there's a certain lifestyle you have to live. You just can't go out there in the world, commit everything, and talk about, you're in the Mashiach. Because anybody that's in the Mashiach don't live that type of lifestyle. So they do have that element of knowing that there's a separated life, but we have to be careful that it doesn't become a religion to where they can authorize what is sin and what's not sin. I don't need for you to tell me what sin is and what not sin when I can go to the book and read exactly what sin is. So there's some things that they had that was right. Now I know here we were raised, you can't live that kind of lifestyle and be saved. We just knew that. A lot of times we like to trap everything in like 3 sins. The sexual sin, smoking and drinking or doing drugs, and then lying. Well, we know you can't lie, can't do drugs, and you can't have illicit sex or sex out of the boundaries. And that basically was it, But there's more, once you start to break down. You talk about the 10 commandments. The 2 commandments that he tells us where all the commandments hang on aren't even in the 10. Because the first and great one is the Holy Shema. That's not in the 10 commandments. The Holy Shema is Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah, thy Elohim is one Yah. That's the Holy Shema. That's not even in the 10.
But it wouldn't be in the first 4 of the 10 commandments. The first 4 are about God.
Yeah, the first four is your love for him. You demonstrate your love for him by following the first 4. And the other 6, you demonstrate your love for your neighbor by keeping the other 6. Yeah. Because the first 4, the first one is, there is no GODs in my presence. That's it. Because it says before me. In my presence or before me, there is no GODs. How could you even entertain one? How could you even think of, what are you talking about? There is none. As far as his people, we should know. There is none. There is no GOD. Then he says, the second one is you're not to make any kind of image. Graven image, any kind of image. So anytime you draw something up of an image and you bow down or you have some kind of religious commitment to, that's an idol. That's an idol. So and people love to carry that cross and everything, and they have a misunderstanding of it because there's not supposed to be no imagery, nothing graven, nothing. Even in Isaiah, I think is it 45, he even talks about how they take the wood and they plane it out in the shape of a man. He says that's idolatry. Now, what do you think they take wood and carve it out in the shape of a man and to hold it up as an idol? What is that? Huh? Yeah, but they take wood and they use a plane and they carve it out like a man, and then they use that as an idol. He's talking about the cross. He's talking about the cross. It's the cross. It's in Isaiah, I think it's 45th chapter. It's right there. It's either 44 or 45 of Isaiah. He talks about how they make it out as a man. He says you can burn it up with fire. He says it has no ability to save you. It has no power, has no ability. You could burn it up with fire. But what do they do with it? Then they put it, they get a necklace with a cross on it, and then they put it in the pocket by their heart, which the Catholic Church did that, but now you see it in all the churches, and it's idolatry. It's idolatry. Oh, yeah, yeah. And all those Confederate statues, all those statues, you know where we get statues from? You have to go over to Europe. Anybody ever been over to Europe, you see graven images and statues everywhere, and it goes back centuries.
Did you have a scripture on that one Shabbat about the statue?
Probably.
Being tore down or something, or did I watch another broadcast? Around one of the Confederate statues that was being tore down south.
Yeah, because he does talk about it's either Isaiah or Jeremiah how he's going to bring down the statues. He's just going to bring them down. So that we see a prelim of that because they're starting to come down now. But he said he was going to do it in that day. So the covenant, the everlasting covenant that was given to Abraham and it was given to Isaac, and we're gonna just finish up with this one for today, and it's in Psalms 105. Is it 5 or let's look at 6. 105 and 6. O ye seed of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. Again, what advantage have they? Well, much in every way. Now, when I say that, and we talk a lot about Yasharal, that does not mean other people cannot be in Yasharal or saved or a part of Yasharal. Because we see that even in maybe we'll look at that. Let's go through here, and then I want to go after this Isaiah 56. If don't let me forget that. Okay, he is Yahuwah our Elohim. His judgments are in all the earth. Verse number 8. He hath remembered his covenant. How long? Oh, so when somebody tells you that all of that is done away with, and y'all need to get rid of that law, oh, that's done away with. Well, he says he's going to remember. So you want me to forget what he never forgets? You want me to forget something he's never going to forget? His covenant forever. He remembered his covenant forever. The word he commanded to 1,000 generations. Now, we talked about this the other day. 1,000 generations haven't been on earth yet. Because from Abraham to the Mashiach was how many generations? 42. From Abraham to Christ, the Mashiach was 42 generations. So from Christ to today, we might have gone to 100 generations, but 100 generations to 1,000 generations, we're not even close. We're not even close. Which he made with Abraham and his oath unto Yishak. Now, verse number 10, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, to Yasharal for what? So what he gave to Yasharal is an everlasting covenant. He gave them an everlasting covenant. So what was given unto them, is it just for Israel? Is it just for Israel? What he gave unto Israel, is it just for Israel? Well, we'll have to see certain things. First, let's go to Romans 15, and let's look at verse number 9. And that the Gentiles might glorify Elohim for his mercy, as it is written, for this cause I will confess to thee among the Gentiles, and sing unto thy name. And again he saith, rejoice ye Gentiles, what? With his people. So it's not that he's given it just to Israel only, but also unto the Gentiles. Because he's telling the Gentiles now, I want you, for this cause I will confess to thee among the Gentiles. In verse 11, and again, praise Yah or hallelujah, all ye Gentiles, and laud him, all ye people. In verse number 12, and again, Isaiah saith, there shall be a root of Jesse, and he that shall rise to reign over the Gentiles, in him shall the Gentiles trust. So this everlasting covenant that was given to Israel, all of those who are in Israel are under that everlasting covenant. But you have to get in Israel to get under that everlasting covenant. Now, so how can somebody who is not Israel get in Israel so they can be a part of the everlasting covenant? Well, it only comes through a graft. Yeah, it only comes to where you have to be grafted in. If you're not grafted into Israel, then you don't stand to get all the promises and the covenant and the law of the covenant if you're not grafted in. Okay, let's see if this was prophesied. Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56. Let's start at verse number 1. Thus saith Yah, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Bless the man, Barak the man doeth this, and the Son of Man layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hand from doing any evil. Now, verse number 3, neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to Yahuwah, or somebody, a stranger that has been grafted in, speak, saying, Yahuwah hath utterly separated me from his people. Now, in Romans, it tells us that we are to laud him, we are to praise him, sing praises unto him with who? With his people, right? With his people. The Gentiles are supposed to do it with his people. Because the stranger might say, thou hast utterly separated me from his people. No, I want you to be in my people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I'm a dry tree, which means he can't have any more sons, any more children. For thus saith Yah unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. So every man wants a seed. No man wants to be a dry tree. And so that's why the eunuch was saying, I'm a dry tree. I can't be blessed or anything. He says, no, if you keep my Sabbath and you choose the things that please me and you take hold of my covenant, he says, even unto them will I give in my house and within my walls, which is his grace, a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. And I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. Talking about the eunuch that's a dry tree. And then he says, also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to Yah, to serve him, and to love the name of Yahuwah, and to be his servants. Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. Don't listen to these preachers that talks about the covenant is over, the law is, there's no longer under the law, you're no longer under the 10 commandments, you're no longer under. Don't listen to them, people. Don't listen to them. If you do listen to them, take them aside, just like Aquila and Priscilla, wasn't it? Took Apollo aside and say, yeah, I hear what you say, you're a great preacher, but let me show you a more excellent way. They weren't boastful and try to embarrass him while he was preaching. They took him aside in private and said, let me show you a more excellent way. And so sometimes when we got these preachers standing up and hoofing and preaching and all this, it might be good just to take them aside and show them a more excellent way. You're talking about getting rid of an everlasting covenant. I don't think you are higher up and have more power than the Most High Yah. You can do away with his covenant. I don't think you could do that. So I know it sounds good, but now let's look at his word. Let's look at Torah, and let's build off of Torah, because you're not going to do away with his covenant. Taketh hold of my covenant. Even them will I bring, notice now, I will bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices accepted upon mine altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. Now, who else said that? Our Messiah said it. He said, my house shall be a house of prayer for all nations. But what did you make it? You made it a den of thieves. So he threw them out. He threw them all out. And he quoted this verse here, because it's for all people. My house is a house of prayer for all people. But you got to come up in Israel. You got to come on up in the house. You got to come up in here. And so Paul had to teach the Ephesians, who were strangers, and he told them, he said, there was a time you were in the world and you were without the Elohim. You were alien from the covenant of promise. You had no hope. You was in the world without no hope. You had no covenant. The heathens and the Gentiles have no covenant. He did not make covenant with them. Nowhere in this book, from Genesis to Malachi, will you see him making a blood covenant with anybody outside of Israel. But everybody had to come up in Israel now if you want to be a part of that. And we see that with Ruth, where Ruth was a Moabite, but Ruth says, your Elohim, my Elohim, your people, my people. I'm taking on your customs and your practice. I'm doing it all because that's where I want to be. The Adon Yah, which gathereth the outcast of Yasharal, saith, yet will I gather others to him, besides those that are gathered unto him. So if you're not in Yasharal at the time of the gathering, you're not going to be gathered with them. If you're not in Yasharal, because the everlasting covenant was given unto Israel, like it says in Psalms 105, like he says there in 105 and 10, and confirm the same unto Jacob for a law, to Israel for an everlasting covenant. So he doesn't forget. He's not going to forget his covenant that he made. He's not going to do it. Man might try to get you to forget, or they might have forgotten, but he's not going to forget it. So we have the covenant that is a covenant in the flesh that was given to Abraham and to his seed in the flesh. We also see a covenant that was given unto Israel. Now there's other everlasting covenants, and we'll take another look at them on another date, because it's coming up on 2:00. Coming up on 2:00. Any questions or comments out there? Any questions or comments? Because one thing I was going to, let's look at, we were just there in Isaiah 56. And let's look at verse 6. Also the sons of the stranger that joined themselves to Yahuwah to serve him and to love the name of Yahuwah, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. So he's telling that the strangers What are they supposed to love? They're supposed to love his name. They're supposed to love his name. Now, it's difficult to love something you don't know. If you don't know it, then you're not going to. How can I love something I don't know? At least you got to introduce it to me, or you got to tell me something about it. I can't love something I don't know. I don't even know it exists. I know nothing of it. But he wanted them to love his name. So why doesn't people know his name? Especially strangers. Why is it the strangers don't know? And why is it that his people don't know? Why is it that they don't know the name? Let's go to 2 Chronicles. Second Chronicles 7:14. When Israel lost their heritage and discontinued from their heritage, and that their name would not be mentioned anymore as a nation, if you don't know who you are and you don't know his name, you're not going to be able to call on his name. You can't call on his name if you don't know his name. He says, if my people, this is 2 Chronicles 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, what's going to happen? That's when some action is going to start to take place. That's when you're going to start to hear some things. He says, then will I hear from heaven. If we're not praying unto him, we're not calling on his name, he's not hearing it. He'll forgive their sin, and he'll heal their land. Look at verse 15 and 16. Now mine eyes shall be open, and my ears attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. For now have I chosen and sanctified this house, and that my name may be there forever, and my eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. This is not a building made of hands. That's not what he's talking about here. He's not talking about, and I know Solomon, King Shaluma is dedicating a temple, but he's not talking about a four walls or a temple. Anybody know what he's talking about? He's talking about his people. He's talking about his people. And so as long as we can keep his people peppered, scattered about, arguing, fighting, killing one another, totally just destroy. As long as we can keep the community desolated, in a total state of distress, in a state of dilemma all the time, as long as they don't know who they're talking about, as long as they're not calling on him, as long as they don't know his name, his people don't know the power that they have when they come together and call on him. They don't know it. They don't know it. So what he does, he says, okay, even Shaul says, well, everybody that has the spirit of his son, the spirit in them cries out, Abba, Abba. But you even have those who claim to have the spirit never call on Abba. Never call on their father. because we're taught that we don't have a father. We're taught that we don't have a father. I don't know why you calling on the Father. Don't call on him. Call on somebody else. But my spirit tells me to call on my Father. But the preacher tells me to call on somebody else. Mm. My spirit wants to call on Abba, Father. Show me tell me who you are, tell me. But people are telling me, don't call on him. Okay. We don't know what we have because we haven't been taught correctly. We haven't been taught correctly. The Mashiach told us and gave us a pattern how to pray. And he says, our first thing, out the gate, Abba, I'm coming to you, Abba, out the gate. Before I call on anybody else. He taught me to come unto you. And then you give me your spirit. And your spirit is moving me to, well, somebody might say, well, my spirit ain't never moved me to call on Abba. Joel, the prophet Joel. Let's look at chapter 2 and verse number 26. Let's look at Joel 2:26. I call on Abba Yah every morning. I wake up in the morning. I'm calling on Abba Yah. You mean you call on Abba Yah every morning in prayer and meditation to Abba Yah every morning? Every morning. It's my spirit that drives me. Because it says in Romans 8 and in Galatians 4 that he gave me the spirit of his son in me that cries out. Unless we've been sidetracked. I almost feel like shouting now, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Okay. And ye shall eat in plenty. Okay, wait a minute. Before we do this, before we go to the prophet, let's go to Romans 8. I might as well bring this out. Romans 8 and what is it? 30? No. Romans 8 and okay. Romans 8 and 14 and 15. And then I want to go to Galatians 4. I'm almost done, y'all. Just bear with me. Galatians 4 and 4 and 5. Romans 8:14. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, they are what? The sons of Elohim. Notice now, if you're led by the Spirit, you're his son. Let's listen to what it says. For ye have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear, but ye have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, Abba, Father, Abba, Abba, Father, Father. It's not you, because you don't know what to call on. Because most of us aren't circumcised in the heart to know what to call on anyway. So he gives us the spirit of his son, and it's that spirit that cries out. Because I'm trying to get you in order, so I'll give you the spirit. The spirit cries out, Abba, Father. Okay, Galatians 4, 5, and 6. But when the fullness of the time was come, Elohim sent forth his son, made of a woman made under the law, to redeem them which were under the law. So who was under the law? Yasharal was under the law. Notice now, to redeem them that were under the law, because he gave the law as an everlasting covenant to who? Israel. We read that. We read that. He gave it as a law and to Israel as an everlasting covenant. To redeem them that were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. Here comes that adoption again, because adoption was given to who? We read that in Romans 9 and 4, right? The adoption was given to who? Israel. It was given to Israel. The adoption. That we might receive the adoption of sons. And because ye are sons, Elohim have sent forth the spirit of his son into your hearts. And how do you know you have the spirit of the son in your heart? The crying out, Abba, 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 Abba. Let's go to Joel chapter 2. Joel chapter 2 and verse number 26. Joel 2 and 26. There's a scripture in the prophets I wanted to bring out. I'm trying to recall where it's at, where I read it. I just remembered where I read it. Before we do this, see, this is why I wish I had a board. One day, I'm gonna get a board up here and I'll be writing all these scriptures down, because I just move around a lot. So I'm gonna be able to write them down so you can see them. But before we do Joel, can we go? Will you let me go to Ezekiel 16? Can I? And verse number 59. Yeah, verse number 59. For thus saith Adon Yah, that's how it is, the Adon Yah, I will even deal with thee as thou hast done, which has despised the oath in breaking the covenant. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth. So what is he talking about when he says in the days of thy youth? Yeah, sort of. Yeah. He says, nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth. And you're looking at the 16th chapter of Ezekiel here. So he gave birth to this nation. They were born of him. That was the time of their youth. And when he gave birth to them, he gave them a covenant. So he's saying, nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with thee in the days of thy youth. When you were young, and he says, when I seen you in your nativity, you was polluted in your own blood. I loved you. I wrapped waddling clothes where I did all this. He said, I gave you a covenant. I'm going to remember that covenant of your days of youth. I will establish unto thee an everlasting covenant. Here comes that everlasting covenant again. Everlasting covenant. Then thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed. When thou shalt receive thy sisters, thy elder and thy younger, and I will give them unto thee for daughters, but not by thy covenant. I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt know that I, Yahuwah, that thou mayest remember and be confounded, and never open thy mouth any more because of thy shame, when I am pacified toward thee for all that thou hast done. So what did they do? They broke his covenant. They played the role of a whore. They fell into idolatry. They did all of this. He even, at a point in Jeremiah, he says, when you did all of this, you wouldn't even blush. You were not even ashamed when you played the harlot. You did all of this after I had made an everlasting covenant with you. I made this covenant with you, and how you broke it. But he says, now let's go to Joel. Let's go to Joel. I'm almost done. I know everybody wants to go. I'm almost done. And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of Yah, your Elohim, that hath dealt wondrously with you. And then he says what? And what? My people shall what? Never. And ye shall know that I'm where? And that I am Yah, your Elohim, and what? I'm not an Elohim to nobody else. I'm not an Elohim to nobody else. Now, why would he say that? We covered that today in Genesis 17. Why would he say that? Who did he make it with? At Genesis 17, who did he make that first covenant with, that everlasting covenant? Abraham. And remember, he said unto Abraham, he says, you're going to bear this in your flesh, and I'm going to be your what? Elohim. I'm going to be your Elohim. Why is that significant? Because there was all kind of nations around. He's saying, I'm not none of theirs. I'm yours. I'm yours. And he's been faithful unto Israel. So faithful that he sent his son to remind us, I haven't forgotten my covenants. I ain't forgotten my covenants. That's why it says in Romans 15:8, he came to confirm those promises. Everything that they want you to forget, he's saying, I haven't forgotten. You ain't a people. I haven't forgotten you're a people, not a people. You're all over the place. You hi, a nation? What are you talking about? You ain't no nation. I haven't forgotten. Y'all ain't nothing. I haven't forgotten. You ain't got no daddy. A mother might forget her sucking child. I'm not going to forget. He says, you're written on the palm of my hands. I'm not going to forget. Oh, you're a disparaged people. You're a scattered people. You're nothing. Your daddy wasn't nothing. Your grandpappy wasn't nothing. And your great-great-grandpappy wasn't nothing. So you know you ain't nothing. So he says, I haven't forgotten you. I haven't forgotten. He made a covenant. And he says, I'm your Elohim and none else. That's why he says here, I am Yah, your Elohim, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed until some preacher make you ashamed. Does it say that in there? Wait a minute. Is that up there? Until a preacher make you ashamed? Well, y'all ain't nobody. What you talking about? So he has to send reminders. Here's another one. And it shall come to pass afterward, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. And also upon the servants and upon the handmaids in those days will I pour out my spirit. Does this sound familiar? And I will show wonders in heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Has that happened? The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of Yah come. That day is coming. This day is coming. When that day comes, and it shall come to pass, whosoever shall call on the name of Yah, Yahuwah, shall be delivered. Now, if you have the spirit of his son, it's not hard for you. Those who don't have the spirit of his son, they don't call on him. But the day is coming, if you don't know his name, you're not going to be delivered. Shall be delivered. I'm going to come back. Are you guys tired? You worship, you know not what? We know what we worship for what? Salvations of the Yahudim. Now let's look at salvation. Soteria, G4991. Soteria, in the Greek they said soteria. Soteria is of the Yahudim or of Israel. That's where soteria is. What does soteria mean? Properly abstract noun. Rescue or safety. What does it mean? To deliverance. Deliverance. That's why you go back to here. And it shall come to pass, whosoever shall call on the name of Yah shall be delivered. That's what he's talking about when he says salvation. He's talking about deliverance. I'm going to rescue you. If you can survive and remain, that's another part of it. Those who survive or remain, those are the ones that's going to be delivered. The ones who remain. Because it says that in Thessalonians. He that alive and remain or survive. Those who are left behind. Wait a minute. I thought the left behind were the cursed ones. No, the left behind are the blessed ones. For in Mount Zion, this is it for me. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance. Because he's coming back for Yasharal. That's why he says in Romans 11:26, and so all Yasharal shall be saved or delivered. They're all going to be delivered. As Yah have said, and in the remnant whom Yah shall call, because not everybody is being called. Everybody's not being called. Nope. He's not calling. Because sometimes I look at, man, why don't they do this? Why don't they say this? He's not calling everybody. Yeah, we have to understand that. He's not calling everybody. It's just the ones that he's called. Okay. All right, I'm done. Yeah. You better be, preacher, because you're going to be here by yourself pretty soon. You better be done. You better be done, brother. I'm done. So I say Shabbat Shalom to all. Thank you for coming to the class. And we'll be here again on Shabbat. The next Shabbat service will be here. Yah willing. And so we salute all those who made it out. Salute all the kings and the queens, the Hebrews and the Shebrews, the ox and the Kotis, and the brothers and the sisters, and all in Yasharal, although in the